Really hits home from Gottlieb is this idea that therapy isn't for people who are broken. It's actually for the courageous, for people brave enough to look at their own stories, even the tough parts. What's so compelling is her view from both sides, right? She's the experienced therapist, but also the patient. It kind of reminds you that experts are still, well, human. They wrestle with the same big questions we all do.
And our mission today really is to trace how these different threads connect for you. We're talking about the stories we tell ourselves, what our bodies hold on to without words, the impact of our past, and how this all comes together, especially with something so current like burnout. We want to give you a more, let's say, complete picture of why we struggle and how we can grow.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. So often in therapy, it starts with what brings you here.
Right.
But Gottlieb makes it so clear, and this was a real eye-opener, that the reason someone thinks they're there, it's almost never the real story deep down. She uses her own experience, which is pretty brave. She goes to therapy after the sudden breakup, totally convinced her ex was just this unethical jerk, end of story.
Right. But her therapist, Wendell, he saw past that initial layer. He helped her see that maybe, just maybe, she was an unreliable narrator in her own life.
Exactly. And facing that takes guts.
It really does. And look, we all do this, don't we? We craft these narratives, these stories to shield ourselves. Think about Gottlieb's client, John, the Hollywood producer. On the surface, he seemed kind of arrogant, maybe narcissistic, had called himself an idiot. But that was just a mask, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Underneath was this immense grief losing his mom and his little boy at the same age. Just devastating. Yeah. So that idiot persona, it was survival. Therapy helps us sort of unknow ourselves, let go of those stories that box us in so we can live more authentically, with more self-compassion. And the relationship with the therapist itself, that trust and acceptance, that becomes incredibly healing.
Okay, so we have these mental narratives.
Yeah.
But then there's the body. What
Yeah.
about the stories it tells? This is where Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's work comes in, and it's fascinating. He talks about how trauma isn't just in the mind. It gets physically stored, kept in our bodies. It leaves us kind of stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze mode.
And the neuroscience backs this up. During a traumatic event, or even a flashback, your amygdala, the brain's alarm system gets hyperactive, and the prefrontal cortex, the thinking, rational part, it goes offline. That's why it feels so immediate, so real.
Right.
And here's a really key detail. Broca's area, the speech center, that can shut down too, which makes trauma quite literally a speechless experience.
So that explains why just talking about it doesn't always cut it.
Exactly. You can't always access or articulate it verbally when it's held so physically.
So van der Kolk looks at methods that kind of bypass the thinking brain. Things like communal rhythms, drumming, dancing, or martial arts, yoga, EMDR.
Yeah, EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing helps the brain process those stuck memories.
Even psychedelic-assisted therapies are being explored now. Though, we should mention, some aspects of his work have drawn critique from parts of the scientific community.
That's true. It's an evolving field.
Okay, so connecting this back, how do these past experiences, maybe even childhood wounds, show up now? Lise Bourbeau's theory about the 5 wounds, things like rejection, injustice, is relevant here. She says they make us create masks to protect ourselves.
Yes, and these masks, they link directly to struggles like burnout. It's quite a connection. Take the masochist mask, which Bourbeau says comes from feeling humiliated. That can lead to intense people-pleasing, difficulty saying no, even self-sabotage.
Sounds like a recipe for burnout.
Totally. Or the rigid mask stemming from perceived injustice. That often creates the perfectionist, the overachiever, always striving, never satisfied.
Also prime burnout candidates.
Definitely. And there's this really powerful idea Bourbeau touches on that we often unconsciously marry our unfinished business. We pick partners, jobs, situations that mirror those early dynamics, hoping somewhere deep down to finally fix or heal them this time around.
Which sets the stage perfectly for something like burnout, especially when those patterns aren't addressed. And let's be clear about burnout itself. The WHO defines it not just as stress, but as chronic, unmanaged workplace stress. It leads to feeling depleted, mentally distant, or cynical about your job, and just less effective. It's a deeper exhaustion and detachment.
And the debate often comes down to, is it the system, like a toxic workplace, or is it the individual's susceptibility, like that perfectionism we mentioned?
What do the sources suggest?
Well, it seems like it's often a perfect storm. You have a potentially flawed system meeting an individual who maybe because of those masks or past wounds is more vulnerable.
Right, the rigid or masochist types might struggle more in certain environments.
Exactly.
So if it's this mix, where does healing begin? It sounds like it has to be on multiple levels, setting boundaries maybe, getting back in touch with your body through things like mindfulness, and importantly, doing that hard work of rewriting those old stories, taking responsibility for your part.
Absolutely. Individual work is key. But systemically, leaders need to step up with what's called wise compassion. That means creating real psychological safety, addressing the root causes of stress, not just offering, a lunchtime yoga class as a band-aid.
It's not a simple fix then. This deep dive really shows how interconnected everything is. Our struggles feel unique, but they often tap into universal human experiences. Your pain is valid. And healing. It's definitely not a straight line. It's messy.
It really is. And perhaps the most powerful first step anyone can take is just courageous self-observation. Try letting go of the judgment. Just notice. Notice the feelings, the sensations in your body, the stories running through your head.
It reminds me of Gottlieb's closing thought, really. Don't judge your feelings. Notice them. Use them as your map. Don't be afraid of the truth. That feels like the key, doesn't it? Finding the way back home to ourselves.